Good evening. I'm Kathleen Follis, Teaching Operations Manager at Think Tank Learning, and welcome to our webinar, Make Reading a Summer Splash. And I want to talk to you today about the importance of strong reading skills. But before we get started, I wanted to mention that if you have any questions or comments throughout the discussion, you can submit them several ways to me. If you have Gmail, you can simply go to Google Hangout and submit. But if you don't, then scroll down to the bottom of the screen until you get to the discuss box, and you can type in your question or comment there, and we'll address them at the end of our conversation. In my 10 years as an instructor, it's been clear that those students who do well are those who have strong reading skills. So I've learned firsthand as a college instructor that how critical it is for students to have strong reading skills in order to absorb the large amount of information they have to read throughout their college career and to be able to keep up with their studies. And one of the best ways to prepare for college is to boost your reading comprehension. Now, it's summer, and my suggestion is that you take advantage of the summer break to improve how well you read. Now, you're probably cringing about now, thinking of doing schoolwork or what seems to be schoolwork on your summer break. But frankly, you can use the summer to make reading fun. You don't have to take a hardcore reading class. There's other options to you. And don't forget, it's hard to get back into the swing of things come fall. So if you take, for example, or join a reading club, you can read a few books, things that are out of your normal way, wide variety, get introduced to authors you wouldn't normally read on your own, find your interests, and have a community of fellow students that you can discuss the author's ideas with, what you understand or don't understand, and be guided by an instructor in a low pressure, no harm, no foul environment. So there's several reasons why you should focus on your reading comprehension throughout the year, but especially through summer. If you think about your academic career and the purpose of your academic career, whether you're in middle school or high school, everyone will eventually be looking towards college, doing well in college, and of course the gate to college are those entrance exams, specifically the SAT and the ACT. You've heard the phrase that colleges are looking for students who are well-rounded, but that's not the whole story. And in fact, colleges start off on the applications wanting to know your personality. And one of the ways they find out is to ask you about your reading list. And in fact, University of Southern California's application has specific prompts that ask you about your favorite books, your favorite author, a favorite character, and explain why. Stanford has a similar question on their application. What are your favorite authors, favorite books? But in addition, they want to know what kind of magazines you read, what kind of news applications you look at, because these answers all give them a view into who you are, how well-rounded you are or aren't, and whether you're a good fit for their college. Furthermore, it isn't just about being well-rounded. Colleges want to know if you know what your interests are and whether you intend to avidly pursue them in college. Their goal is to maximize your interest and then for you to become a productive, contributing member of society. That's why Stanford has on their application what kinds of magazines and news feeds you're looking at. How well do you know your environment and the issues globally around you? So reading consistently and a wide variety also boosts your vocabulary and helps you understand good writing style. If you think about the tests you take, the state tests you take that test your reading and writing skills, if you think about the entrance exams such as SAT or ACT, how painful it is just to sit and memorize lists and lists of hundreds of vocabulary words. But if you're picking something that you read that you're interested in and come across a new word, you're far more likely to look up that word. And the advantage is that you see that meaning in context. You're more likely to remember it. You're more likely to use it in your own vocabulary. It's a great way to expand your use of words, all of which are critical for the SATs, the ACTs, and your college career. Any English instructor will tell you that if you want to improve your writing, you should read. Why? Because good writing gives you a view into what you should be doing, what good sentence structure looks like, and how to write a strong sentence, what good grammar looks like, effective use of vocabulary and word choice. In addition to that, it helps you understand how an author is presenting his or her ideas and how to respond, not only in an analytical manner, but argumentative techniques. If you read actively and have strong reading comprehension, then you'll be able to think critically. So these two concepts of critical reading and critical thinking go hand in hand. And reading through the summer gives you a broader view of authors' different ways of presenting their ideas. Critical reading helps you understand what you're reading and analyze how an author presents their ideas. Critical thinking is the other side of that. How effective is an author in relating their information to you? In fact, critical thinking allows you to validate whether that author's opinion is effective or not and express your opinion effectively. So reading a wide variety of information and styles helps you put together what we in English instructors say, strong argumentative essays. So critical reading leads to critical thinking. And frankly, it isn't just about English tests. You have to think critically in math these days. Math word problems, for example. You have to think critically on valid arguments in science. Business. It really doesn't matter what your subject area is. Strong reading and critical thinking applies. And believe it or not, most importantly, reading helps you de-stress, especially towards the end of your day and early evening. It's frankly far more relaxing than using your iPhone e-screen or playing video games. It can de-stress you more than 60%, according to some surveys. And last but not least, reading widely makes you a better conversationalist. You have something interesting to say to a wider group of people. It'll help you get comfortable engaging with others in a variety of topics, and it'll give you confidence of expressing your opinion. Let's talk for a moment a little bit more about preparing for the SATs and the ACTs, the two most common college entrance exams you'll be facing in your academic career. Both of these tests have changed recently, altering and increasing the importance of your reading skills. The ACT, in its critical reading section, forces you to read 4 passages in under 9 minutes a passage. That's getting through the passage and getting through all the questions. And that's the end game, getting through all the questions. You can't score out of the low 20s without getting through all the questions. The SAT has recently changed as well. And while their critical reading section offers you the ability to take up to 13 minutes a passage, it has 5. So under time pressure, having strong reading skills will prevent you from having to read areas over and over again under time pressure. It'll allow you to absorb what you're reading more quickly so that you can make inference decisions on those complex questions. This is true in math as well. And most importantly, it's going to help you on your essay sections. Good reading leads to good writing. Now, the SAT has recently changed their essay format, and it's all about literary analysis and argumentative style. On the SAT essay now, you're going to be presented with an article from a specific author, and you're going to have to analyze not only what the author is saying, how they're saying it, and respond to it. So understanding themes, having strong reading comprehension, and being able to express yourself and understand a variety of literary techniques becomes critical on the SAT essay. On the ACT, that is also recently changed, you'll be presented with 3 different opinions on a common global topic, and you'll need to summarize, analyze the effectiveness of the arguments, and present your own opinion. So again, reading a wide variety offers you the ability to think critically, be comfortable with validating an author's opinion, and expressing your ideas, both verbally and in writing, all components that are critical to you doing well on the SAT or ACT essays. Here's a short overview of just the critical reading breakdown. Again, the SAT looks like you have a large amount of time, 65 minutes, but it's 5 passages that you have to get through in 13 minutes or less. On the ACT, it's a far greater challenge. 35 minutes, 4 passages under 9 minutes. This is reading and question answering. So how do you get started? Where do you start? Well, you have several options. You can read on your own, but that requires discipline. So if you're one of those students who you don't really care to read, or you're stuck on a particular author, or not particularly motivated for a variety of reasons, reading on your own probably won't get you too far. A better choice would be joining a reading club. Now, the advantages of a reading club is that you're going to be with students, you can make new friends or hang out with people you already know. You're reading the same material, you're being guided by an instructor, you are going to be exposed to a wider variety of choices, and you're going to have a lively discussion. Most reading clubs use the Socratic method. So you get to hear other people's viewpoints, see different perspectives that help clarify for you what you're reading. And it has the advantages of already being presented with subjects that you wouldn't normally pick on your own to broaden your horizons. Typically subjects and genres that you're going to be faced either in school or on the SAT and ACT tests. Or you could go full on and take a reading class that combines speed reading with reading comprehension and essay writing. And really a reading course is for those who want full-on engagement, who are self-motivated and want a highly structured class. So I would encourage you, frankly, to join a reading club for the summer. It's a little bit slower paced, it's a little bit less stressful, and it still gives you all the advantages of improving your comprehension. You don't have to join think tanks reading clubs. I just want to give you an example of what a reading club looks like for you to think about by using think tanks model. We've recently come out with new reading clubs that are based on grade ranges. Level 1 is for grades 6 through 8. Level 2, grades 9 through 10. Level 3, grades 11 through 12. There are 15 sessions, and an instructor is going to pick a variety of either 2, no more than 3 short books off of a predetermined list based on the students that enroll. So the advantage of reading clubs is that the books change frequently. You're not going to be presented with the same books over and over, and you're going to have a wide variety. So let me give you some examples of reading choices with reading level 1 for grades 6 through 8. Mythology by Edith Hamilton. Mythology is something that you will most likely face in your freshman year in college, if not in high school. Now, this isn't boring fairy tales. We're talking about ancient myths and legends that have acted as social guideposts and fascinating stories since antiquity. Jason and the Argonauts and the Golden Fleece, or King Midas and the Minotaur, or Isis and Osiris, great Egyptian gods and myths, or even Hercules, the Roman term. The Greek name for him was Heracles. So they're fun, they're interesting, and exciting action-adventure types of myths to learn about. Another choice might be Ender's Game, which is a science fiction novel, and some of you may have heard this term from the science fiction movie that came out some years ago. And as interesting as the movie is, most students will find after they've read the book that the book is far more fascinating because it delves more deeply into the military strategies. Ender's Game is about a global government that is concerned about alien invasion. So they breed boy geniuses to become the next great military leader that can save them from outside attack. One of them being a boy genius named Ender Wiggins, who goes to military school, and that's not what it's all about. It's about a boy, a teenager, facing the kinds of pressures we all face as teens today, peer pressure from standing out, peer pressure from trying to fit in, pressure from instructors, and from family and other adults to do well and save the world. You'll also find nonfiction on our lists. For level 1, that's Autobiography of Benjamin Franklin. Now, everybody's heard about Ben Franklin. He's one of the founding fathers of America and one of the authors of the Declaration of Independence. But that's not the end story of this man. He was a multi-talented individual who maximized his potential. He was an author, Poor Man's Almanac. He was a scientist. He was an inventor. Did you know he invented the bifocals? He invented a stove that's still being sold today. So it's a fascinating read of a multi-talented individual. Level 2 for grades 9 and 10 has an equal wide variety. Life of Pi, again, a book that's turned into a cinematically stunning movie about a young man who is a Muslim, a Christian, and Hindu all at the same time, trapped on a lifeboat with a Bengal tiger with a limited amount of food and water. Sounds like a great adventure story, and it is if you've seen the movie. But if you read the book, you'll realize that the author is getting at something far more complex about religion and rituals in a time in society that is driven by science and consumerism. And what is the role of religion and rituals in our society today? If you like murder mysteries, The Hound of the Baskervilles, written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle about Sherlock Holmes. This is about a ghost dog that haunts continuing generations of a family that continues to act out very poorly. In some of the levels, you'll find a Shakespeare opportunity, A Midsummer Night's Dream for reading level 2 by Shakespeare. Sound boring? It's not. It's your classic romantic comedy. Girl meets boy, girl gets boy, girl loses boy to another girl, and then gets him back with the help of a fairy. Sounds like a classic movie, but in typical Shakespeare style, this is all compressed events into a single midsummer's night. So it's a fun way to get introduced to Shakespeare, because sooner or later, you're going to wind up reading him in school. The Alchemist, story about a young Spanish boy, Santiago, who has a dream about finding gold at the base of the Egyptian pyramids, and he pursues his dream. It's a great story about how not to give up on your dreams. Reading level 3 for grades 11 and 12 has an interesting wide variety. In the Time of the Butterflies is historical fiction. It's fiction, but based on true life of three revolutionary sisters in the 19th century living in the Dominican Republic that was under a really bad guy, a bad dictator by the name of General Trujillo, and American government's role in this revolution. It's not particularly well known that we were involved in it, but it's a fascinating read, both from a fiction perspective and from historical perspective about revolutions. Catch-22. If you've ever had a time in your life where you feel like you're going crazy, everything's upside down, nothing makes sense, this book's for you. And it's set, of course, in the theme of war. Humanity's biggest insanity, generating war. It's a searing social commentary. It's funny and poignant. And in fact, the term catch-22 from this book title has penetrated our culture to mean, of course, a situation that has no clear way out. If you want to read about bad guys, The Brothers Karamazov is for you by the great Russian novelist Fodor Dostoevsky. Again, if you're into historical fiction, Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities. If you are a French Revolution aficionado, you should be familiar with this. If you're not, it's a fascinating read of one of the most turbulent times in European history. Every culture has this cultural signpost of dramatic impact of war or revolution. And for Europe, it's the French Revolution. And this tale brings it down to the human level and what human justice means. So these are just some of the selections that you can see on your screen that our instructors can choose from. And it's the kind of variety that can expose you to different interests that you may not know and find. But whatever you do, whether you read on your own, whether you join a book club, or you take a reading class, do something to improve your critical reading. You can always get better, and it's an investment in your future. It's an investment in yourself and your ability to do well and exceed your expectations, because you can't think critically and analyze and present your ideas if you don't understand the new information that you're reading. All right, that's all for me. Any questions?
Thanks, Kathleen, for that great presentation. To all of our viewers right now, if you guys have any questions, please go ahead and leave it either in the Google Hangouts app, or you can leave a comment down below on the URL and we will answer them. We actually have one question. This is from Albert212. He asks, Kathleen, what's the difference between critical reading versus critical thinking?
Good question. Critical reading helps you understand what you are reading and allows you the opportunity, once you understand what you're reading, how the author is conveying their ideas. So it's what and how. Critical thinking is the part where you analyze your position. How do you respond to what you're reading in the author's view? Do you agree or disagree? Is the author's view valid? Do they make a valid argument or not? These are both skills that you're going to need no matter what subject you choose in your academic career.
Okay, great. And once again, if you guys have any questions, please go ahead and leave a comment down below or in the Google Hangout app. Kathleen brought up some great points on how critical reading and how reading in general will actually help you in standardized testing. So if you guys have any questions regarding reading in SAT or ACT, please ask away. We have a second question. This is from Kathy. She asks, how does reading even apply to math?
Well, an increasing amount of math involves word problems. So understanding what you read, particularly word problems, is going to help you in that area. And of course, on the SAT, you now have two sections, math with and without calculator, with a heavy population of word problems. So reading well, reading quickly and effectively is going to help you in your math on those tests as well.
Okay, and we have another question coming in. This is from Timothy. He asks, are these the same books that I will be reading in the fall for my English courses? And I believe Timothy is in the 11th grade.
Excellent question. Well, I can't speak to other reading clubs, but TTL's reading levels purposely picked books that have a low probability of showing up in your reading English classes so that you wouldn't have a sense of repetition or deja vu, but they are by authors that will likely appear in your reading list. So they're different books, similar authors, and certainly we did that on purpose, so you wouldn't be bored when you got to your fall and spring courses. But still, these are authors that are commonly used at your grade level to get you familiar with the author's style, author's themes that do give you a jump in these classes. And of course, these are also authors that are likely to appear throughout the reading sections and essay sections of the SAT and ACT as well.
Okay, we're just going to wait a couple minutes for any more questions that might be coming in.
All right, so while we're waiting for a question or two to come in, let me talk about reading classes from a think tank perspective. Reading clubs are great because they're low pressure, they're at a slower pace. But if you find that you need a more structured class, Think Tank offers a comprehending critical reading class for middle school students as well as the complementary for high school. And most reading classes do more than just discussion groups and exercises around a specific novel at any given time. They also present you with short stories, plays, sometimes poems, often interspersed with speed reading exercises to boost your reading speed, but also with maybe small opinion-based essays, articles, or excerpts that give you an opportunity to form your opinions and practice argumentative essays. So reading classes are a little bit fuller, a little bit richer, and a little bit more intense, but they're great ways of supplementing the same kinds of concepts that you're going to be faced in your English classes in both middle school and high school to boost your reading skills, your comprehension, as well as your critical thinking.
That's a great point, Kathleen. You know, one of the most common questions that we get asked, you mentioned argumentative essay writing.
Yes.
So we know that the ACT and SAT recently changed their essay formats. How does that apply to those two tests?
Excellent. Well, a reading class, it gives you opportunity to respond to in an opinion-based way, is specifically advantageous for the ACT essay because the ACT essay combines analyzing different viewpoints, their strengths and weaknesses, and then arguing your particular perspective, either agreeing with one of those opinions or coming up with your own opinion. And the challenge is that you have to do that under an extremely short amount of time. So being deft and capable of working through that process quickly and being used to reading quickly, analyzing, summarizing, and then formulating your own argument is vital to doing well on the ACT essays. And even though the ACT essay is technically optional, many colleges require it. They want to see how well you write and can express yourself. And frankly, beyond your college career, you're always going to be, no matter what profession you decide in, having to present your idea and convince others of your position. So you're going to need the skill set as an adult, only more so than you do, frankly, in high school. So it's a great way to get used to analyzing, presenting your viewpoint relative to other people's.
Now, Kathleen, from your experience in teaching, have you ran into any students that might have struggled with critical reading skills and they ended up taking the ACT and SAT and didn't do so well?
Yes, in fact, it's really difficult to do well on the critical reading sections and the essay sections unless you have strong reading skills in particular, because it's a time test. So understanding the first time through, being able to engage with the reading, take short notes, organize your thoughts, create a mental outline, if not a short bullet point outline, and then being prepared to answer questions or write an essay is vital.
Kathleen, I'm glad you mentioned the keyword time. They are given a very limited time set when they actually do take the reading portion. And I know you mentioned in detail in your slides about how much time they actually get. Could you cover that point one more time? Just exactly how little amount of time they get on each passage?
Yes, the ACT is 30. It's about 8.75 minutes per passage. It's 4 passages. I believe it's 35 minutes long. The SAT is 65 minutes. You have 5 passages. You have more time. It's closer to 13 minutes, which sounds like a large amount of time, but the passages are intense, and in some cases, they're double passages. So I always tell my students that if you're weak in one subject area, then play to your strengths. Work those strong passages that you're most comfortable with first, faster, bank that time and use it for the more challenging passages. But if you have more than one that's your weak link, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to come up with an effective strategy that allows you to get through all those passages and all those questions in the amount of time at the level of accuracy you need to do well and score well.
And just to clarify, Kathleen, when you say about 13 minutes per passage on the SAT and about under 9 minutes per passage for the ACT, are you talking about the passage including questions as well?
Yes.
Okay, so they have to read and answer the questions within that time frame, right?
Yeah, so if you have to spend time reading and reading over and over or struggling to find where you read something, you're going to have a complication on top of just the time element. And
we have one more question that just came in. This is from Catherine. Catherine asks, how many books do you recommend that I should read over the summer?
At least 3 would be good, depending upon the length. And 3 different styles. Pick things that you wouldn't normally pick, especially for those students who are really stuck with one favorite author. It's a great place to start, but pick 2 different ones on purpose so that you get used to reading different writing styles, different genres, and different authors. The point is to be well read. And it gives you an opportunity to really find your interests and broaden your horizons.
If you do think of a question that you would like to ask Kathleen, feel free to email us or leave a comment down below. We will be notified and we'll have Kathleen answer those questions for you.
Thank you everyone for joining us.